Hello, Nir. Nice to see you again. I'm a great fan of you. I met you, or we met you actually. Javier was with me in that conference in San Francisco like 7 years ago, 6 years ago.
It's been a long time. That's right.
Yeah, we were in Galvanize, I think. And yeah, just before that conference, I was just finishing reading Hooked. And that's why I was very excited to meet you in that conference. Um, and actually, that book is what in, like ignite my passion about product design. And I discovered with that book that I really liked to work on products and the psychology and neuroscience around it was very like new for me, but very mind blowing. And since then, I've been like reading and going very deeply into how to apply all this psychology around the science of products. And Javier is my partner in this project, and he also is a product person. He has one of the biggest health tech companies in Mexico. He has software for nutritionists and nutrition in general. I don't know, Javier, if you want to talk a little bit.
Uh, yeah, actually, in our company, everyone who join have to read your book, and
Oh,
actually
wow.
on daily basis, yeah, on daily basis we used to think on how to create hooks, and I have discussed with Rafa many things about how can we improve our product using hooks. But yeah, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. Yeah, I would actually love to interview you. I know we scheduled it to you interview me, but I can you tell me actually more about how you use the hook model? I'd love if you can walk us through. I'm sure it'll be interesting to the audience to hear, how you apply the hook model.
Yeah, actually, you know, we have a product for dietitians and doctors. We help them to give them some tools that allow their patients to follow some kind of nutrition, some special nutrition. But people who are sick, sometimes they didn't have the best habits. So it's hard for us to create a product that create loops or create habits in people. So we try to use internal triggers. What are their motivations? But the motivation just start at the beginning and ignite some actions. But as time passed, people start to decline on their engagement. So we create some loops. We try to get some people like their friends involved in the product to create some engagement around. So we try to follow your model, and in everything, in every feature that we create, we always think how this can create a loop that allow people to come back to us and follow the treatment. At the end of the day, the treatment is just follow a good nutrition, but that is hard. And I remember you said that in your last book and Indestructible, you said that you have to think in someone that you want to become and not to think, and I want a six pack. So we try to think on triggers and how people invest in the product and things like that to to make more value around the product and to trigger actions and to follow the treatment. That is the things that you usually think how to create.
Hmm. And what's the habit you want people to do with the app every day?
Actually, there are different things. We the first thing to start a diet, it's you have to shop. You have to go to the market and buy your stuff to prepare your meals, and this is the first thing that we want them to create. So we create this shopping list, and we send some messages. On Sunday, we know they go to the market more often, so we send these triggers, these notifications that hey, it's time to go to the shopping and get your stuff. So we send some notifications. If we see that people are not coming back on Sunday, we try to send another notification. But sometimes notification can be overwhelmed because you receive notification from different products. So we think, okay, maybe we can use WhatsApp or use another methods to trigger the action.
How is it going so far? How is your user retention and engagement looking?
Actually, if you compare product versus any other product related to diets, we have 40% retention after 12 months. But we have a lot of advantages because our product, we try to get involved the dietitians in the process. So it's different from MyFitnessPal, because MyFitnessPal, it's always you and the product. And in this case, we have the dietitian, the product, and the person or the patient. So with including the dietitians give us a lot of advantage, and this is why we have a long retention. And also,
Right.
the people have some diseases. For example, some have diabetes or hypertension, and when they go to the doctor always remind them to continue the diet. So we have those hard triggers that are coming from the experts, from the specialists. So this is why we have a better retention than other products.
How many installs do you have?
Actually, we have 50,000 active monthly active users, and last year we gave like 500,000 consultations on the platform. But yeah, this is yep.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm happy to give any pointers or advice if I can be helpful, or I'll let you take the direction of the conversation wherever you like.
Yeah, actually, we wanted to talk. We want to learn a little more about you and the psychology. How we know that you studied at your MBA in Stanford, and then you created your own startup, and then you become or you get interested in psychology. But we would like to know why someone who was involved in product get involved with psychology and the product. Because now, so before you, as a software developer, you were thinking, I have to create this product and just get write code. But now, when you create a product, you need to think how the users, their motivations, how to think in things that people have to do to come back. So, what led you to get involved in psychology for products?
Yeah. So I was looking for something that didn't exist at the time. So I had started a couple tech companies, the second of which was in the gaming and advertising space. And after that company was acquired, I was looking around for what I was going to do next. And I could see at the time, this was 2012. So I remember the Apple App Store was only 4 years old at this point. And I could see that the screen interface was shrinking. So as we went from desktops to laptops to mobile devices to wearable devices to today, when you think about the Amazon Alexa and these devices, now the visual interface has disappeared altogether. Now you just talk to certain devices. As that happened, as the amount of screen real estate shrunk, habits would become more important. Why? Because there's just less real estate. There's less room on the screen to trigger people with external triggers. So what that means is if you're not on someone's home screen and they don't remember to use you, you're dead. Your app doesn't exist. So you have to build a habit as the screen interface shrinks and eventually disappears. And so when I looked around for, okay, how do I build a habit? I was going to start another tech company. And I looked around for, okay, where's the book on how to build habit-forming products? I couldn't find one. It didn't exist. So I started talking to my former clients and researchers at Stanford, my former professors, and spending a lot of time in the Stanford library. And I started to put together a model that I thought was going to be useful for me, And it was just meant to be my guide. And after I put it together, I started getting a lot of followers and discussion around it. And I got invited to teach a class at the Stanford Graduate School of Business and later at the Hasselplatter Institute of Design. And that kind of became what I did next. And I found that I enjoyed it a lot more than running a company. I was not the best CEO. There was a lot of stuff involved with being a CEO that I really didn't enjoy. People issues, not my thing. Like hiring and firing and all that, like I just hate it. And what I really like is product. And so I found that I have much more fun working with people who are really good at being CEOs or product managers and working with them to help make their products great. And so that became what I do now for a living. It wasn't really by design. It was kind of by a happy accident.
And Nir, after you published your book Hooked, do you have like any thoughts on things that you would like to include in that book that you now learned after it?
So we did a second edition of the book, actually the one behind me here on the video you can see with the black mark there that says that it's an updated edition. So we did a revised edition a little while ago, and not all that much change. We added new case studies. When I first wrote Hook, there weren't any case studies of people using the hook. I was projecting what I was seeing at other companies, right? Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and WhatsApp and Slack and Snapchat. These companies didn't use the hook model. The hook model didn't exist, but I stole their secrets in order to make the hook model. Well, now when I updated the second edition of the book, now we have case studies. We have Fitbod that uses the hook model to get people hooked onto exercise. We have Kahoot that uses the hook model to get kids hooked onto learning. We have Duolingo that's using the hook model to teach people languages. So now we actually have companies who were inspired or use the hook model in practice. But as far as what the hook model changed, nothing changed in the hook model itself. I would be happy to change it if I saw evidence that it needed, but I still haven't seen anything that needs to change yet.
Yeah, I think humans will be humans, right?
Exactly. Now, what we do say, I will say that the fundamental 4 steps of the hook model, trigger, action, reward, and investment, that doesn't change across people. It doesn't change across demographics. It doesn't change across populations. It doesn't change across nationalities. What does change is what certain people find rewarding, for example. So, some people, when they feel the internal trigger of boredom, they might want to watch football. Other people, when they experience the internal trigger of boredom, might want to watch telenovela. I don't know. They who knows, right? So whatever is your personal taste and preferences, that's not going to change just per nationality or demographics or race or gender. That's going to change per individual, right? What I might find relaxing and interesting, you might not find relaxing and interesting. So that might change per person or per population, right? In Mexico, maybe football is very popular, but in Japan, it's going to be sumo wrestling. Okay, so that changes, but those are still forms of variable rewards, and that's what's in the model. So that part doesn't change.
Do you think, for example, the I think it was the reward of the hunt versus the reward of the self? Do you think one of the other it's like higher in demographics, or do you think both are equally?
So there's, just to fill everyone there, there's 3 types of variable rewards: rewards of the tribe, rewards of the hunt, and rewards of the self. If I had to stack rank these, and this isn't based on any kind of empirical research, this is just based on my anecdotal evidence of my over a decade working in the industry, I would say that if I had to stack rank them, rewards of the hunt are at the bottom. Rewards of the hunt are about the search for material possessions, discount, money rewards. Those are at the bottom. It's not that they don't work. They do work, but they're the first to decay. So this is typically what we see a lot of companies who can't think of a better idea doing, right? Here's a discount, here's a coupon, here's a sale. Those are variable reward. There's surprise there around, oh my God, look at this coupon I found, or look at this amazing deal I got. There is variability around that. But what you do is you end up training the customer to expect more and more and more discounts. And so it's very dangerous to do that kind of thing. It works, but it's dangerous. It's the least effective of the 3. Then you have rewards of the self, the search for mastery, consistency, competency, control. And then even above that, I would put rewards of the tribe. We find that when we have variability that comes from other people, community, it's interesting, Javier, I didn't know much about your business, Javier, but even hearing what you just told me around the fact that you have a personal trainer, that's your secret, makes total sense, right? Because it's a reward of the tribe. If I'm using MyFitnessPal, I'm all by myself. But when I have your app and you've got another human being whose face you see, and if you don't do what you said you're going to do, I'm going to hold you accountable, right? That is a reward that comes from another person. So if I had to stack rank them, I think rewards of the tribe are the best, the most, are the longest lasting. By the way, they cost you nothing, right? Think about that. If you give someone a discount, that comes straight out of your bottom line. That's pure profit you're giving away. But it doesn't cost you anything to connect people together. That's product design. That just has to be built into the UX. So that is the most long-lasting type of reward, rewards of the tribe. Not every product can use it, but that's what I've seen is the most long-lasting, then rewards of the self, then rewards of the hunt.
When I try to apply the framework to products that I have built, the part that is more challenging, I think, is the investment part, because comes after it. Like, you need first to hook them and make them to return to your product. But
Not necessarily. You want it on every pass. So the hook model, the user needs to pass through every step of the hook, right? And so this is super important. If you're listening right now and you're building a product or service that needs to be habit forming, everyone in your company needs to know what that hook is. What is the hook? The hook is 4 things: trigger, action, reward, investment. That's it. A hook is not, oh, we are the company that tries to give people healthy habits by blah, 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 blah. If it takes you more than one sentence, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Okay? 4 things: trigger, action, reward, investment. That's it. That's it. Everybody should know what that is in your company, because if you can't describe it, you can't build for it. So the trigger is something that prompts the user to action. You have external triggers and internal triggers. The external triggers are things in our environment that tell us what to do. The internal triggers are feelings: boredom, loneliness, fatigue, uncertainty. Okay? So when I say, what's your internal trigger? We're solving for fear. Javier, you're not building a nutrition app. You're not building a nutrition app. You're solving for fear. The fear of not being able to play with your kids,
Yep.
of being overweight, of being socially judged, of being unhealthy. You're selling a solution to fear. You're not selling a nutrition app. Okay? So you and your company, everybody needs to know, what are we designing here? We're building a product that cures fear of being unhealthy. Okay? That's your internal trigger. The action: open the app. That's it. Open the app. The variable reward is, what do I find when I open the app? Is it a message from my coach? Rewards of the tribe. Is it something I need to do? Rewards of the self. Is it something that, some new piece of information? Rewards of the hunt. Then finally, the investment. Every time I use the app, what's the bit of work the user does to make the product better? Is it data? I say, hey, guess what, coach? Here's what I ate, or here's my workout, or whatever, right? That's an investment. That's a piece of data that I'm giving you to make the product better and better with use. I hate broccoli. Okay? If I tell you I hate broccoli, don't give me any more stupid nutrition plans that say eat broccoli. I told you I don't like broccoli. That's data that's making the product better and better with use. So every time the user passes through the hook, every time, they need to go through all 4 steps. And every single individual who touches your product, who touches UX, needs to be able to tell me what that hook model is, or it's going to be very hard to build for it.
And Nir, what happened when you have some external triggers? Today I discovered that I have diabetes. So I take action and start to use a product. But after some time, I just get relaxed. I know I have diabetes. I know I will not die tomorrow. And that fear start to decrease. How you would manage this peak of action, but try to keep the person involved in the loop if you know for sure that the fear is gonna decrease. These external triggers will not disappear, but will become less important on time.
Yeah, because you're relying way too much on motivation. That's a mistake. The fulcrum of success for a business like yours is not motivation, because you're absolutely right. Motivation comes and goes. People who use your product or don't use your product, they have plenty of motivation. Nobody wants to die prematurely. Everybody is scared of death. Everybody is scared of being overweight. Everybody is scared of not being able to play with their kids because they're out of breath. You already have enough motivation. What you lack is ability. It's too difficult, right? So when I asked you not to criticize, I'm telling you this because I want to help you, right? It's out of love that I'm telling you this. Dieting is not the habit. Exercise is not the habit. Shopping is not the habit. Why? What's the definition of a habit? The definition of a habit is a behavior done with little or no conscious thought. I can't shop with little or no conscious thought. I can't exercise with little or no conscious thought. I can't eat right with little or no conscious thought. Those are not habits. I can open your app with little or no conscious thought. That's the habit. Okay? When you go on Facebook, it's not shooting a video and commenting with a paragraph or making No, it's open the app and scroll the feed. That's it. That's it. Right? Scroll the feed. That's all you got to do. If you do that, you're given variable rewards. And if you get those variable rewards, you're likely to comment, to like, to share, to friend. And that feeds the hook.
So you build basically, you have this trigger, but you create a little habit, and this habit try to build actions above.
Bingo. Exactly. This is called the keystone habit. The keystone habit is, like the keystone of a bridge or an archway. If you've ever seen like how the Romans build archways, right? They put that keystone and the keystone holds the bridge together. So if you can't build that keystone, you're never going to have them do the other stuff. If you can't get them into the habit of opening the app several times per week, if not several times per day, they're not going to exercise. They're not going to eat right. They're not going to track their food. They're not going to do all the stuff they have to do. First, you have to nail the habit of open the app every day with little or no conscious thought, right? That's the most important habit. Then you can build the more complex, difficult behaviors based on the data you're getting from them in the investment phase.
Got it. Okay.
So part of the things that I see, something I see all the time with amazing, wonderful, golden-hearted people like you, and I see this in the personal finance space, I see this in the personal wellness space. These are products that can truly help people if they change their habits, but they don't do the key behavior. And the most common pitfall I see it all the time, is trying to do too much, right? When I ask people, okay, what's your habit? They say, we want to change people's lifestyle. We want to get them into a habit of healthy living. That is not a habit. That's an aspiration. A habit is open the app. That's a habit, right? It has to be done with little or no conscious thought. So you want to get super specific, right? Very specific on what the behavior you want people to do with little or no conscious thought. And if you can get them into that habit, right? One step at a time. If you can get them into that habit, then you can expand into more and more and more. Just like you know, Instagram is a great example, right? If you open Instagram or TikTok or whatever else, if they can just get you to scroll, well, then they can teach you how to like something, how to share something, how to friend somebody, how to make a video. All that stuff comes later. There's a lot of stuff you can do, but first you got to open the app and scroll.
Got it. Nir, and when or how to decide what, because there could be a lot of things that you can include in your app or your product to make this next step. How you think we could decide which is coming next after this first keystone?
Yeah, so this is where build, measure, learns come from. So everybody should read, if you haven't already, Lean Startup by Eric Ries. And the idea behind Lean Startup is that you can't just decide what you want to build for the user for a startup, right? So some products are not startups. They are products that have a known problem. So let me do that again. A known problem and an unknown solution. So for example, if you're making a cancer drug, okay, that's a known problem. People who have cancer don't want to have cancer. Okay, that's a known problem. The solution might not be known. We have to go find what the chemical formula is to go cure cancer, but that's a known problem, a known solution. Okay, Starlink satellites. We know people want internet all over the world. Known problem. Hey, how do we get there? Unknown solution. Okay. For startups, however, startups are defined as companies that have an unknown problem and an unknown solution. where we don't exactly understand what the problem that people are trying to solve is. We're still guessing. Okay? And so to get out of that startup mode, what we have to do is we have to experiment. We have to build, measure, and learn. And so the hook model is nothing more than a way to generate hypotheses. That's all it does. Because the hardest part of build, measure, learning is the building phase, right? Measuring and learning, that's fun. That's easy. Building is where the blood, sweat, and tears and money all go. So what you do with the hook model is you refer to it when you don't know what to build next. Because asking the boss, okay, CEO, what should we build? Well, why would the CEO know? They're not, they don't have a hotline to God. How do they know? Asking the investors, that's terrible. Never ask your investors. They don't know jack, right? Oh, let's ask the customer, right? Don't we want to talk to the customer, customer development? Even they don't know, because there's a big difference between people's stated preferences and revealed preferences. So what you want to do is look at the hook model to refer what we build next. And you do that by saying, okay, do we have a good trigger, an external trigger and an internal trigger? Does that occur with sufficient frequency? Do we have the right action? Do we have the right variable rewards? Do we have the right investments? And then we're going to come up with a bunch of hypotheses that then we test. Okay. And you will fail. If you don't fail more than you succeed, you're not testing enough. I see this all the time. Companies say, hey, we used the hook model. We generated a bunch of ideas and we only got 3 out of 4 experiments worked. I said, that's amazing. Like, what are you complaining about? You should be testing to the point where you're testing bad ideas, not just the good ideas, right? Most of you, I like to see companies failing 80% of the time. That's a good metric for how much you should fail. Now, you just want to generate tons and tons of ideas that then you can go quickly iterate on and test. So in terms of, well, what should we do next? I don't know what you should do next, but your customers probably know, but you can't ask them. You have to test with them. So you do this by stepping one hook model on top of the other. So first thing, I open the app. Okay, next, let's say, can you get me into a conversation with my coach? You can. Awesome. Can you get me from there to log, take a picture of my food? Okay, great. There's the next hook. Okay, now how about the next hook and the next hook? So we're going to experiment based on one step at a time, increasing the complexity. What I see all the time is that companies think about the promised land, right? They think about, Jerusalem. Here's what we want. If only people would log everything they eat all day and every step they take, that will be great. Then we can help people be healthy. That's really hard. That's not going to happen right away. You have to go step by step by step with increasing levels of difficulty.
That's very clarifying, at least for me.
And Nir, one question here. Some people who see Prodcast have a lot of questions about how to start. What is the MVP? What is the first thing that I have to do? So basically, what you're saying is they can use your model on this design phase, on the first step of the startup. Because I thought, and this is something that I just realized now, that I thought that the hook model can be used when you just know when you know the problem, or you have some product market fit on the product, then you can apply the hook model. But you're saying that you can use your hook model to get to the product market fit.
Yeah, absolutely. So the hook model is really effective in 2 places. So the first place is very, very early. Okay, so before you've committed any code, before you've designed any wireframes, if you sit down and ask yourself these 5 fundamental questions in the hook model: what's the external trigger? What's the internal trigger that the product is addressing? What's the simplest action done in anticipation of reward? Is the reward fulfilling and yet leaves the user wanting more? And what's the bit of work the user does to increase the likelihood of the next pass? I know I did that very fast. There's more in the book. Those are the 5 fundamental questions. So before you do anything, answer those questions just on a piece of paper with a pen, right? If you and your co-founders can answer and say, okay, do we have the possibility even of a hook? The second best thing that can happen is no. Okay, the second best thing that can happen is, you know what, look at this. We thought we were going to build this business, but then we asked these 5 questions and we don't have a hook here. This is not going to be a habit. Great, I just saved you years of your life. You're welcome. The first best thing that can happen is you say, you know what, we've got some potential here. Let's keep moving forward, right? So then you start building a prototype. You use these questions as your guide to start iterating until you see that a significant number of people are using your product habitually. Okay. Now, what does that look like? What's a significant number of users? Anything below 5%, keep working. You have not found product market fit. And what do I mean by 5%? 5% of your users are habituated. What is a habituated user? It's someone who uses your product with the level of frequency that would indicate a habit. Now, that's going to change with different companies. If you're building a fitness product, that's probably going to be used every day, every other day.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you're building some enterprise SaaS software, well, that's probably going to be used at least 5 days a week, 5 work days, right? Monday through Friday, if it's for the enterprise. If it's a product that's not used that frequently, maybe it's only once a week. Okay, that's fine. But you need to define for yourself, what does a habituated user look like? And if it's less than 5%, keep working. If it's over 5%, now we can start talking. Once you get into the 20, 25% range of your user base per cohort, not your total user base, but your user base per cohort, now we've got something, okay? So what you're gonna do is you're gonna keep iterating. You're gonna say, hey, we started out at 5%, then we made this change to the hook model, and look, now we're at 7%, 8%, 9%, 10%. Keep working until you get to 20, 25%. Now we're looking good. Now we've got a significant portion of our user base that comes in, we're habituating. We're keeping them coming back time and time again, okay? Because remember, you can always buy growth, right? People always think growth. Growth is everything. The problem is they don't realize that to get growth, you have to have retention. If you don't have retention, this is called a leaky bucket, right? And so you can always go to Facebook or a newspaper or television and buy advertising. You can always buy growth. You can't buy engagement. Engagement has to be designed into the product. So only after you see, wow, we can actually habituate people, then we want to invest in growth. Okay, then we want to put money into growing the user base. Because if we don't, we're just throwing away good money because we're not keeping our users. So that's the first place it's very helpful in the early days, and then refining. Where it also becomes very helpful is later on in the process when we have a product that people should be getting habituated to, and for some reason they're not. And so then we can take out the hook model and use it as a diagnostic tool. We can say, our habituation rate should be much higher. What's going on here? Well, let's take a look. Do we have the right triggers? Do we have the right action? Is the variable reward good? Could it be made better? Do we have the right investment phase? And now we can continue to iterate on those features of the product based on the hook model informed by consumer psychology, not based on guessing.
Nir, maybe this is a little bit out of what you were talking about, but I want to touch this today a little bit because when I've been talking about hooked with clients or with friends, sometimes they ask me about the ethics around it, like manipulating and addictions, and how social media is manipulating the users. I know you have a lot of opinions around that.
I have a lot of opinions on this.
I will not.
Yeah, so the short of it is, look, even in Hook, the very first edition, there was a whole section of the book that's titled The Morality of Manipulation. So we need to be very careful about these techniques. Look, all form of design, whether it's interaction design, whether it's graphic design, whether it's interior design, all design is a form of manipulation. But there are two kinds of manipulation. On one end of the spectrum, we have persuasion. Persuasion is a form of manipulation that gets people to do not only what the designer wants them to do, but more importantly, what they want to do. If I manipulate people into eating healthier, exercising, losing weight, and being healthier, if I can manipulate you into doing that through persuasion, that's wonderful, right? People will pay you to help manipulate them, right? That's persuasion. Super ethical, use Hooked. It's unethical not to use Hooked, right? It's unethical not to. If you know how to do it and you're sitting on the solution, which, look, we are. I mean, these technologies can change people's lives. So it's unethical not to persuade them. But then there's the difference, the opposite of persuasion. The opposite of persuasion is a form of manipulation called coercion. Coercion is when you get people to do something they did not want to do, right? Persuasion is helping people do something they want to do. Coercion is getting people to do something they did not want to do. And the difference between persuasion and coercion is regret. So if someone uses your product and then later regrets using the product, not only will they not do business with you anymore, they're going to tell everybody on social media not to do business with you either. So not only is it unethical, it's just bad business. You're not going to stay in business very long if people regret using you, right? And we see this all the time. It's so funny. People say, oh, social media this, social media that. Have you guys seen what's happening in social media, right? Everybody was freaking out about social media, Facebook. Oh my God, Facebook's melting people's brains. I don't know anybody my age or younger who's using Facebook anymore. Do you? Why? Because it's not good. It sucks. It's only old people that use Facebook now, right? Where do they go? Well, now they use Instagram, they use TikTok, they use WhatsApp, they use other things. And I know Instagram owns WhatsApp and that Facebook owns Instagram and WhatsApp. I know that, but the point is they've moved their product, right? Zuckerberg bought those products for a reason because he saw that they were better iterations. He didn't want to lose the consumer habit, right? So what happens is that if a product doesn't serve the user's interests, if it's coercing them versus persuading them, they leave. People aren't stupid, right? So this myth that products are hijacking our brains, that they're addicting everyone, this is propagated by people who have a very, very low opinion of the average person. They think everybody is stupid except for them, right? But that's not true. People are pretty good at this stuff. And if a product doesn't serve them, they tend to change. Now, there are certain products that can serve a purpose, they can serve us, but then also we can overdo. And these are typically media products, right? Whether it's watching too much football. Can you tell me, you guys are in Mexico, right?
Yeah.
Last time I was in Mexico, people are crazy about football, right?
Yeah.
Why is watching football on TV somehow better than going on Instagram and talking to my friends? I don't know. It's a pastime, right? It's only bad when it's done to excess. If all you do all day is watch football, that's probably bad, right? You're not doing your work, you're not hanging out with your family, you're not hanging out with your friends. It's coming at the cost of something else. So what happens is we get this, what's called a moral panic over all kinds of new technologies, right? And this always happens. People freaked out about the radio. They freaked out about the television. People always freak out about the latest technology. It's very, very predictable. And so what we have to do is to just learn how to put them in their place. And that's what Indistractable, my second book, is all about. Hooked is about how to build good habits. Indistractable is about how to break bad habits. But it's not the same habits, right? We can form a good habit with a product like Javier's that helps us exercise and eat right and be healthier. We want those good habits, but then we also might want to break the bad habit we have to using Instagram too much or watching too much television or drinking too much or whatever the case might be. By understanding the fundamental psychology of why we do what we do, we can keep the good habits and break the bad ones.
Yeah, I think we are almost at the time that we have, time limit. But I would like to ask you if you have like any upcoming book. I know you have this Undistractable book going, and this is very like recommended for everybody to be more productive and break, as you said, bad habits or help you achieve more. Do you have any other upcoming books or ideas?
Yeah, I'm always working on all kinds of projects. I work with a lot of startups. I put my money where my mouth is, and I invest in habit forming products. So I work with a lot of companies to help them become more habit forming. Always for good, right? I only look for companies that I believe build healthy habits in users' lives, and I've invested in 35 companies now and 6 unicorns. So I keep doing that. That keeps me pretty busy. And yeah, I'll come up with another book at some point, but not in the immediate future. But if you are interested in either of the books, Hooked is called Hooked: How to Build Habit Forming Products, and Indistractable: How to Control Your Attention and Choose Your Life. And you can find out more information about both at my website, nirandfar.com. But Nir is spelled like my first name, Nir and Far.
Great.
Okay.
Nir, thank you so much. Honestly, it's I always like to hear you. Maybe in the future, when Prodcast has more audience, maybe we will have you back. But I really appreciate you being here.
My pleasure.
Yeah,
Thanks so
thank
much.
you.
Great to see you
Thank
again.
you. It
Thank
actually
you.
was very good talk. Thank you, Nir.
Thanks so much.